Hello everyone, welcome to Living Coast in your living room. My name is Ashley, I'm one of the educators here at the Living Coast Discovery Center. Now today, for our special edition of Living Coast in your living room, we're actually going to be outside today going out on our trail hikes. So be sure to be joining us every day here on Facebook for all kinds of different variety of interaction and animal learning opportunities about our native wildlife that calls San Diego Bay home. Are you guys ready to go out and get started? Well, first, if we're going to go on a hike, there's a couple things that you need to make sure you always do whenever you're going out hiking. Number one is make sure you're dressed appropriately. I have on my hiking shoes, I have on my hiking pants. It's not super sunny out, but I have my sunglasses just in case that does change. So you do always want to make sure you are prepared for that weather, or if the weather changes, have some additional stuff as well. Now today we're going on a very short hike, so it's not super long. So I'm not too worried about needing a jacket, but those are things that you might want to bring with you as well. Another thing that you always need is water. Even if you're going on a short hike, you do want to make sure you take water with you, as you never know when you're going to be in need of some more water. Now, another important aspect that I always like to highlight to people, because people don't always think about this one, is you should never go hiking alone. Why do you guys think we should probably not go hiking alone? Any ideas? Well, you never really know what's going to happen when you go hiking, so it's always important to make sure you have your cell phone with you or some other type of communication device. Today I actually have my radio so I can contact our on-site staff. I have my cell phone in my pocket, and I'm also joined by 2 different staff members as we can make our way through our trails safely, because you never know what's going to happen. So it's always important to make sure you never go hiking by yourself. Are you guys ready to go out and get started? Let's go hiking. Now, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those. Comment them below, and we will be sure to answer them as best as we can, whether it be about something that you see in the video or just a question you might have thought about from some of our previous topics. We'd be happy to answer those as well. Oh, this is a great spot. We're going to go ahead and stop. Up ahead, I can see already some different animals, so I'm going to see if we can get a little closer, and hopefully you guys will get a chance to see those as well. So I can see up ahead 2 rabbits. We have desert cottontails here, and then there was also a ground squirrel running around. Now here at the Living Coast, our trails are mostly made out of gravel, which can make sneaking up on animals a little difficult. So hopefully those rabbits will stay nice and calm, and you guys will get a chance to be able to check them out. Now some of the things that you might be seeing are going to be some of our different native plant species. On the left-hand side of the trail, we have a huge mix of different native wildlife plants here. And then on the right-hand side, if you guys can see that, it doesn't look as great, right? That's because that side has invasive plants in it. And we are slowly working our way to try to remove that to return this back to its native habitat space. All right. Did you guys be able to see that rabbit? It's kind of hard to tell, I know. What else we can find though, because quite a few of them out there on the trails. Luckily for this video with you guys, so we might get a chance to see all kinds of different wildlife that you wouldn't normally get a chance to see. So what we're trying to do is trying to zoom in on this bird species. Not sure how you guys can see that. It's kind of hard to be able to figure out exactly how best to do these virtual hikes with everyone with wild animals, because they can fly away or run away or move at any point. So we're trying our best to be able to share these with you. Now up ahead on top of this salt bush, there are a couple different birds flying around. And And the biggest one that we can see, and hopefully you guys can see it as well, that's actually going to be a mockingbird. You may have heard a mockingbird many times flying around in your area and making all kinds of noise, because mockingbirds love to talk. They make all kinds of different noises, copying things that they've heard from other birds or other animals. We've even heard them try to make sounds that are not actually from other birds, but more from different human aspects, like sirens and things like that. For mockingbirds, it's actually really important for them to be able to communicate this way by copying other birds, because that's how the males get chosen for mate selection. If you know the most amount of songs, you know the most amount of calls, that means you are highly intelligent, and that's what the ladies want. Now I think there's a lizard up ahead on the far left side of the trail. It's also possible it's just a stick, because sometimes that's what they look like. So let's see if we can get a nice up close view of that. Alright, so that is definitely a lizard up ahead. And it is a darker coloration, and it looks like a western fence lizard. Let's see how close we can get. Alright, so he did just scurry off, but there's another, oh, he just ran away too. There was another little guy over here on my left-hand side. So one of the hardest things about these hikes is as we're walking around, we never know what we're going to see. And so we always got to make sure we're keeping our eye out and checking things out. I have a stick stuck to me, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Now when you're walking on your trail hikes, you do want to make sure you're keeping your eyes scanning across the pathway, because you never know what might be on the edges of the path. Like, for instance, those lizards we just had a chance to see. Now you guys can probably see all of these different yellow flowers that we have growing around here. And most of those yellow flowers that you're going to see are going to be California sunflower bush. And they are very important for our local ecosystems, as they provide all kinds of food and nutrients to a variety of different pollinators, including all kinds of different bees and beetles and things like that. So our native plant species are very important so that we can make sure that we're providing food for those native species that rely on them. So those pollinators can be things like bees and birds and bats. You can probably hear a lot of those different birds flying around and making their different noises. Unfortunately, none of them are staying still long enough for us to zoom in on them for you. Now up ahead on the right hand side, you can see our lemonade berry bush, and this one's gotten pretty tall. Usually this is more bush-like, but this one looks like a tree right now. And on these trees, you can often find these berries in them that they have this outer coating on them, that if you were actually to take it off and suck on it, it would actually taste like lemonade. Now this is a native plant, and it is an edible plant for humans, but it's important to know what a plant is without a doubt before you ever try to pick it off and eat it or anything like that, because you never know what it could be related to. So one thing people often don't realize is that lemonade berry is actually closely related to the poison sumac family, and it is going to have poison oak as a relative, and it's also related to those cashews. So if you have any of those types of allergies, then you're most likely going to be allergic to this plant if you were to ingest it. Now up ahead in the center of the trail, there is a rabbit again, so hopefully we can get a closer view of this rabbit. This one seems to be hanging out and not too scared of us as we're slowly walking forward and checking it out. Now the rabbit species that we have here is a desert cottontail, and they are usually pretty small. They are not very big, so jackrabbits are going to be those larger rabbit species, while desert cottontails are usually a little smaller. But they still are going to have those long ears so that they can focus in on sounds from all different directions to make sure that they are staying as safe as possible to avoid their predators. What do you think might be out here that could be a predator to a desert cottontail? So there can be a variety of different things that could be predators of cottontails, and that can include things like different types of snakes, especially the rattlesnakes, and especially when those are younger rabbits, they're great for that. They can also be things like a fox or a coyote. We do get coyotes and they are around, but we don't usually see the coyotes themselves. We find evidence of the coyotes usually, which is actually perfect timing because I just found evidence of coyote right here. So this is actually really old, but this is Coyote Scat down here. And the reason why I can tell is because of all the leftover fur that's inside of it. So with coyotes, they are omnivores. So they eat plants and they eat other animals. And whenever you break apart that scat, you'll be able to find bones, fur, and seeds inside of it. So that's a great way for you to be able to tell the coyote versus something else. Also, the shape can help you indicate that as well. This one's really degraded, so shape's not exactly useful at this point in time, but I've seen that one a lot of times, so I know that one's a Coyote Scat. Now on my left-hand side, we do also have a lot of these invasive crown daisies growing over here. So you might be seeing some of these invasive crown daisies all over in your neighborhood, in your area, as this crown daisy has been growing all over San Diego County, but it's actually not something we want here. It looks very similar to those California sunflowers, but it is not something we want to keep in our environment. So we are doing our best to try. It can you a little farther forward and see what else we can find. Hopefully something that you guys can get a chance to see nice and up close and personal. But again, if you have questions about any of the things that we're walking by, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer those as well.
I have a question. How can you tell the difference between the native and invasive sunflowers?
That's a great question. So I'm going to just go ahead and take off this piece of daisy here and bring it up closer for you guys to get a chance to see. You can see on this one, the leaves are different. They're actually really skinny. So for our native sunflower species, the California sunflower, the leaves are actually really thick and longer. So we have two different ones growing right here, so you can get a chance to check them out up close. So this is that non-native crown daisy. You can see the petaling is different on the flower as well as the pollen color. First is the native species. Let me make sure there's nothing in the bush here before I stick my foot in there. Safety first. So then we have our sunflower species here, where it's actually black with the yellow coating on the top, and the flower petaling is a little bit different. So it's very similar, but it is a little different. And then the leaves are going to be much wider on this California sunflower compared to this one. So this one's very skinny. Another great indicator for pretty much all of San Diego County plants is if it grows really tall, really fast, it doesn't belong here. Most of our plants are going to grow slowly and they stay low to the ground. Our plants are more shrub-like and less tree and tall-like. So more brush and scrubs and very short. Now that's not true for all plants because we have like our lemonade berries and those can get really tall. But generally, if you see something that just overnight got super tall, it's not most likely going to be a native plant. Great question. Now there's something in this tree over here because it was just talking up a storm, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it. It's hiding pretty well in that side of that tree. Perfect. So we're almost at the end of our main hiking trail here at the Living Coast. So whenever you come on out, you enter onto our trails like we did right from in front of our center, and you walk straight down the main trail. That'll actually take you to the beach. And there goes a shorebird right there. So that looks like a type of tern. Because it flew by so quickly, not entirely positive the exact type of tern, but it did have that characteristic tern beak shape. Looks like up ahead we have some scat evidence as well. And over here you can see those crown daisies have actually overtaken this area. So this is a great example of how those plants can get really tall in really fast, while most of the other plants are not that tall. All right, yeah, so we definitely have some Coyote Scat over here, which is great. The reason why we can tell this apart, as I talked about earlier, is when you break it open, you can find, let me find a stick, you'll be able to find the different parts of a plant seed or a animal fur and possibly even a bone. But it kind of also has this little twisty shape to it, and that twisty shape is very indicative of a coyote and the tapered ends. See how it's pointed here at the end and pointed there at that end? So that's a great way that you can tell it apart. And this is pretty fresh because you can see all the flies flying around right here. Flies don't drive. Yeah, looks like there's some seed to tell apart some of your native your native animals. Just check them out. If it was something like a bobcat, there would be only fur and bones, no plant material, and the shape would actually be different, and it would actually kind of break apart immediately. So as soon as I poked it with a stick and kind of got pushed down into it, it would have been poof and disintegrated because their poop just disintegrates really quickly. But Coyote Scat is very common around here in our areas. So most of the time when you find any scat out here on our trails, it's going to be from a coyote. All right, well, we are getting closer towards the beach, and I was hoping to show you guys the beach, but it looks like our trail has been overgrown by some of the flowers up ahead. So I think this may be a good place for us to stop, and then maybe next time on our next virtual hike, we can take you guys out to that beach and show you what it looks like. Now, I hope you had a great time coming out here with us today and getting a chance to see some of our nature and being able to experience it firsthand while also staying in the comfort of your own home. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask and we will do our best to answer those for you. And we'll see you next time on Living Coast in Your Living Room.